Hey there YouTube, Mr. Baksh here. Just thought I'd do another video for God of War, this time for the Nifleheim Maze, with some tips and tricks on how to get the most missed echoes per run without spending too much time. So to start off with, when you first enter the maze, it's probably recommended that you've already finished the game. It's not really a requirement, but it makes things a lot easier. When you first start off, you can start off going into the maze. When I started myself, I was at about low level 7. I used to just go in, run into 2 rooms, clear them out, and then run straight back out before I died. At that point, if you haven't already got the mist armor set, it is quite difficult. So you'll probably only be getting anywhere between 400 to 1,000 mist echoes per run that you do. If you're clearing out about 2 rooms, it could be anywhere because it is a bit random. So the amount you get isn't an exact same amount each time. So I would recommend saving whatever mist echoes you do get though, because the armor is definitely worth it and is potentially like the best set in the game. So once you get the mist set, it makes obviously things a lot easier. You can stay in there a lot longer. You can find out where things are. You start to get used to the traps, how they work and everything, and as well as being able to know which enemies are in there as well. So obviously the enemies that you're facing in there are random, but obviously there is a kind of like a pattern to it for each round that you go into it. Yeah, so once you've saved up enough mist echoes and you've managed to craft the mist set that you need, it's got, for each piece of armor, each one of those sets, I think there's 3 in total, for each set that you have, whichever one you get, it doesn't matter which one, it depends on obviously what you're going for in terms of your stats. If you're going for runic, if you're going for just general attack or defense or whatever it is that you're going for. Mine specifically was a runic, so that's the one I went for, the one that gave the most boost to the runic specific stat, because that's the one I like to use. So yeah, once you've got the mist set, whichever it is the one that you want to go for, you don't have to like fully upgrade it. Even at the basic upgrade, it'll still give you plenty of extra time inside the maze to get things done. Even till now, I don't think I've still fully upgraded. I'm still missing some things that you need to get from outside Niflheim, so there's some extra ones on the higher levels. I think it's to level 8. You need to get some things from outside of Niflheim, so even though I've got enough mist echoes, you still need some stuff from outside. So once, it's not just, you can upgrade the full set with just what you've got there, so you will need to get some of the stuff if you want to get it to level 8. So yeah, now you're in there, you've got your mist set, whichever it is one that you're using. Now whenever you enter the first room, there'll be some enemies that are going to be appearing, obviously, and they'll vary each time you go in. One thing that I've noticed is, if you go in, there's some enemies there and you die and you go back in, then 9 times out of 10 that I've seen, or pretty much on every occasion that I've went in, it's been the same enemies that were there when I died. However, if you take those enemies out, leave the maze and then go back in, it's different. So one of the things that I found was that wolves and grogs are a bit, for myself anyway, based with the build that I've got, they were quite easy to take out. They took the least time, so obviously they could do the most damage, but at the same time they're the easiest ones to take out, because obviously they don't have many ranged attacks. It's purely seems to be just they're running at you, which is good for me because all my special running attacks are based for area of effect and all within close range. So if I get a chance to do that, I can pretty much take them out quite quickly, even at the low level that I was on. So that's usually what I go in for. If yours is different, maybe you find because of your armor, you've got your setup is slightly different. Maybe it's an attack, maybe it's just the way you've got it and everything. You want to maybe go for some different enemies. Maybe you want to go for wolves, or just the normal wolves, or you want to go for the dark elves and stuff like that. Then absolutely, I think there's a druid in there as well, the one that throws poison at you and stuff like that. You can go for them as well. But yeah, whichever is the one that you prefer, you enter the first room. If it isn't that enemy, you take them out, you leave the room, you leave the maze, and then you go back in until it's the enemy that you actually want to face. So once you've hit the enemy that you actually want to face, that's when you can, what I'd recommend, it'll make it easy for you to then continue on through the maze, doing however much it is that you need to do. And then as soon as you start to realise that it's starting to go down, try to track. If you think you've only been through about 2 or 3 rooms, it's probably best to track back. Otherwise, you're gonna end up going forward and going through obviously some more difficult enemies. Maybe even a troll seems to pop up in the large rooms, because there seems to be 2 different types of rooms. There's the normal rooms with about I think there's it's got you enter and it's got 2 different exits, and you can leave either way. Or there's I think they're the corner rooms, or there's just the normal rooms. And there's only one, the bigger rooms, the huge ones, where there's only one exit. So obviously for different rooms, you're probably going to be facing different enemies. You can face anything from a troll for high level ones, or you can face a protector as well, the heavily armoured ones, which do make things quite difficult. Some of you may be wondering that obviously with the Mist set you seem to get this health regeneration. I mean, what difference does it really make? It's a very small amount of health that you're getting. It's just that with those sets, each time you take out a room and you're moving on to the next one, you've got to collect the loot. You then got to go through the traps, maybe collect some more loot, and then go into the next room. Within that time period, on most occasions, all the runic attacks have came back. They're all off cooldown. They're all ready to use again. And at the same time, you've got some health back. So for each one of those rooms, if you're getting a little bit of health back, because sometimes it doesn't give you a lot of those little health gems that you get in the normal game, specifically in the maze. So when you're there, health regeneration makes a big difference. There's another thing that I'll mention a bit later on in the video as well, where it helps in that area as well. But yeah, so there's obviously other smaller, simpler things as well, like whenever you're going for, you need to hit the 3 crests to open those big chests with the letters on them. If you're going to open them up, ideally go for the one that's furthest away first, and then go with the other 2, go with the 2 closer to, and then open the chest like that, because then even if you miss, it's not really a big deal, because it's the one that's furthest away, and you can start again and try again, and it saves you some time. It means that in the maze you're not losing out on time for things that, you know, shouldn't really take that long. With the runic attack, it's purely personal preference, so whatever runic attacks that you like using based on what build you've got. Obviously it would vary. With myself, obviously, as I said, it's just area of effect and trying to take out multiple enemies at one time. I found that the easiest way. For me to do it, for you might be a little bit different, but that's the way that I did it, and it worked out really well. And yeah, some people might have certain runic attacks that I like to use. For myself, Ivaldi's Anvil is a personal favourite, which tends to do an incredible amount of damage, and it's got a decent range on it as well, so you can take out quite a few enemies with that. Right, so going back to the whole health situation, why it's a good thing to have a lot of health. One thing that I haven't really seen anybody else mention is that if you're trying to get out of the maze, you haven't got much time left, but you know you're towards the exit, and you think you're gonna end up dying before you get out. One of the things that I've noticed is, and I've got some footage on the screen there, so you'll be able to see that, is that when you're leaving the maze, if you're dying and your health starts to go down because you've run out of the timer at the top's finished, so now you're starting to lose health. One of the things that you can do to avoid losing too much health and giving you an extra, 15, maybe even 20 seconds on the clock, one thing that I found really beneficial was the Spartan Rage. So the footage that I've got here, I trigger the Spartan Rage, I'm about to die, and then I was literally on like 1 HP or something, and somehow with the Spartan Rage, this was the first time I figured it out as well in the actual video. So my health very, very slowly started to go up, and it wasn't going down any further. So with that, with two full bars of Spartan Rage, I was able to get out of the maze without dying, and obviously then losing the 4,000 or 5,000 mist echoes, as well as all the items that I got inside the maze as well. So you can get the Aerospin, I think it's called. You get like 2,500 mist echoes just from one of those. You get the maze weave as well. I think you get over 1,000 from them, or about 1,000 from them as well. Find about 5 of those, it's just 5,000 there. One Aerospin, 7,500. You find about 4,000 or 5,000, maybe even up to 7,000 in the maze. You're looking at upwards of 10,000 at least mist echoes per run. And each of these runs might even, once you get to a high level, might take you 10 minutes, before that might take you 15, and on the low levels obviously it might take a little bit longer, but the quicker you get that through, and the quicker you get the armor set, the easier it'll be. So I do hope there's someone that found this video useful. I do think there's some things in there that might be useful that if I knew myself would have found very useful. I would have made it a lot easier to get these mist echoes, and then therefore get the better armor, and find the other parts of the game a little bit more easier, where it was somewhat more difficult, especially if you're coming up against the Valkyries. Obviously once you've taken out the one inside the maze, it's not particularly difficult. The one inside the maze, it's usually the one that are outside, especially the one on Nifleheim is very difficult, the one at the summit. But yeah, all these sets and these perks and everything that you get with it, and as well as obviously the voids in the in the workshop. They are very, once you clear those, you get some good items from there as well. It is definitely worth doing and will definitely help in other areas of the game as well. So I do hope someone found that useful. If you did, let me know down in the comments below. Whack that like button and subscribe. Thanks.